A shadow glides across the sandy floor. 2 tons of muscle, forged by 400 million years of evolution, surging upward from below. The great white shark erupts from the surface, jaws agape, body twisting through the air, and the seal in its sights never sees it coming. This is breaching a strike from below that researchers have documented in False Bay, South Africa. An explosive burst reaching 40 kilometers per hour. The great white stretches up to 6 meters long, weighing over 2 tons. Rows of teeth regenerate throughout its lifetime. Thousands of blades, honed by 400 million years of natural selection. And unlike most fish, it runs warm. A rete-mirabile system retains body heat above the surrounding water, enabling its muscles to function in frigid waters where other sharks cannot endure. But speed is not its most formidable weapon. Beneath the skin, hundreds of biological sensors called ampullae of Lorenzini scan for the faintest electrical impulses emitted by a prey's beating heart. It does not need to see you. It senses that you are alive. Welcome to WildLifeDocs, where we dive into the greatest mysteries of the ocean. But even a predator 400 million years in the making has something to fear. The killer whale, Orca. Not a whale at all, but the largest dolphin on Earth. Males reach 10 meters, weigh 10 tons, and cut through water at 56 kilometers per hour. Faster than any shark that has ever lived. Yet what makes the orca a true threat is neither size nor speed, it is intelligence. Each pod possesses its own dialect, a language of sound that only their family understands. Hunting techniques pass from mother to offspring, from offspring to grandchild across generations. Scientists call it culture, a term once reserved exclusively for humans. In the waters off Norway, orca pods drive herring into bait balls, spinning spheres of fish. They encircle them with curtains of bubbles, taking turns to strike. Each waits its moment. None breaks formation. And when confronting a great white, orcas do not rely on brute force. They exploit a biological vulnerability. They flip the shark onto its back, and the shark becomes completely paralyzed. The phenomenon is known as tonic immobility. The shark loses all control of its body when inverted. Orcas know this and exploit it with systematic precision. Not a single documented case exists of a great white defeating an orca in the wild. When orcas arrive, great whites abandon the area, vanishing from those waters for months on end. Intelligence prevails over power. But both the great white and the orca inhabit only the uppermost layer where sunlight still reaches. Below, the light fades and then extinguishes entirely. Pressure increases by 1 atmosphere every 10 meters, and creatures stranger than anything imagination could conjure await where darkness never ends. The question is not who is the strongest. The question is, when light vanishes completely, what allows life to persist where nothing should survive? To answer, we must begin at the first layer, where everything originates. The sunlight zone, from the surface to 200 meters deep. This is the only layer where enough light penetrates for photosynthesis, and it harbors nearly all marine life known to humankind. But within this sunlit layer, there exists an underwater city, the coral reef. Coral reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor. Yet 25% of all marine species depend upon them. 1% of the area, 1/4 of all life. That is the most extraordinary density of any ecosystem on Earth. Every square centimeter on a coral reef is a silent battleground. Hundreds of species compete for territory, light, and food, without pause, without truce. Amid the chaos, there is order. Natural cleaning stations where cleaner fish remove parasites from clients 100 times their size. Predators queue patiently, jaws held wide open for the tiny fish to swim inside. And in the midst of this war, a fish no larger than 11 centimeters makes its home in the arms of a killer. The clownfish. Nestled among the tentacles of the sea, anemone, an organism whose nematocysts fire faster than a bullet, potent enough to kill any fish on contact. But the clownfish does not die. A specialized layer of glycoprotein mucus on its skin renders it invisible to the anemone's defense system. It swims through a forest of lethal tentacles as though swimming through its own home. In return, the clownfish clears parasites from the anemone, brings it food, and generates water currents that aid the anemone's respiration. A flawless survival pact, neither side can live without the other. But the clownfish's strangest secret has nothing to do with mucus. All clownfish are born male. Each group has a single female, the largest, the dominant. When the female dies, the largest male in the group changes sex. Permanently, irreversibly. Protandrous hermaphroditism, the scientific term for the ability to rewrite one's own biological blueprint when circumstances demand, not by choice, but because life demands adaptation or extinction. A creature barely 11 centimeters long, living in the embrace of a killer, capable of changing its sex when needed, nature did not grant the clownfish strength. It granted them an adaptability no other species can replicate. A few meters away, parrotfish are chewing. Fused teeth form a hard plate that grinds dead coral into fragments and excretes white sand. Most of the white sand on the tropical beaches that humans cherish is, in truth, parrotfish excrement. A single parrotfish can produce hundreds of pounds of sand each year. But this luminous city is fracturing. 44% of coral species worldwide are now threatened. As water temperatures rise, corals expel their symbiotic algae and die. Coral bleaching. Cities, once ablaze with color, become bleached white graveyards, and 25% of marine species lose their home. The coral city, the sunlit layer, is the final gateway. Below 200 meters, sunlight fades and then ceases entirely. Photosynthesis ends. The rules change completely. And life here must invent its own light. The Twilight Zone. 200 to 1,000 meters. Light dims to an eternal dusk, then disappears. 75% of organisms in this zone possess bioluminescence. Not the exception, the rule. Here, darkness is the default, and light is a weapon. A chemical reaction between luciferin and oxygen produces cold, light, no heat, no flame, and each species wields its light in a different way. Bioluminescence has evolved independently at least 94 times in marine organisms. 94 times, nature arrived at the same solution proof that light is not a luxury, but a condition of survival where darkness reigns. Counter-illumination. Organisms emit light from their undersides, matching the intensity precisely to the faint glow filtering from above, rendering themselves invisible when seen from below. Darkness does not conceal them. Their own self-made light does. But the most remarkable event occurs every night. Billions of tons of deep-sea organisms migrate to the surface to feed, then retreat before dawn. DL vertical migration, the largest migration on the planet measured by biomass. During the Second World War, naval sonar detected a false seabed that shifted depth between day and night. It was not the seabed. It was billions of tons of organisms on the move. Scientists named it the deep scattering layer, and it took years before they understood what they were seeing. Marine snow, organic debris, dead plankton, fecal matter, fragments of dead cells drifting slowly from the upper layers into the darkness. This is the sole food source for most deep-sea life. An endless, silent rain, sustaining an entire ocean layer that the sun will never touch. Deeper still, beyond the 1,000-meter threshold, we enter the zone of perpetual midnight, the midnight zone. Total darkness, temperatures near freezing, and here, a master of ambush lies in wait. The anglerfish. Over 200 species, scattered from 200 to more than 4,000 meters deep. Atop its head, a luminous lure, the esker, but the anglerfish does not produce this light itself. Symbiotic bioluminescent bacteria housed within the esker are the true source of illumination. It does not hunt. It beckons, motionless in the endless dark. The anglerfish waits for prey to swim directly into its mouth, drawn by the only light in a world of utter blackness. And its stomach stretches to swallow prey twice its own body size. In a world devoid of food, every meal may be the last, so the body must accommodate everything. But the most bizarre aspect of the anglerfish lies in its love life. The male is 60 times smaller than the female, 500,000 times lighter. When a male locates a female in the boundless dark, he bites into her body, Enzymes dissolve the skin of his mouth, and the two bodies begin to fuse. Their circulatory systems merge. The male loses his eyes, his fins, his organs, becoming a permanent sperm sac attached to the female's body, sustained by her blood, existing for a single purpose. The most extreme love in the natural world, or perhaps the most absolute sacrifice. If you too are captivated by the world beneath the ocean, share your thoughts in the comments below. Deeper than the anglerfish, deeper than the last bioluminescent glow, at the threshold of 2,000 to 3,000 meters, a leviathan is descending. The sperm whale, Physeter macrocephalus, the largest toothed animal on Earth, males reaching 18 meters, weighing over 45 tons. Its colossal head comprises 1/3 of its body length, housing the spermaceti organ, a mass of waxy lipid tissue that scientists believe regulates buoyancy during dives. But its true weapon is sound. The sperm whale's click reaches 236 decibels underwater, the loudest sound produced by any living creature. On land, that intensity equates to roughly 170 to 174 decibels, enough to cause pain to the human ear. But beneath the ocean, that sound becomes radar. Echolocation. Each click bounces off surrounding objects, and the sperm whale's brain processes those returns into a three-dimensional map in absolute darkness, where not a single photon of light exists. It dives to depths of 2,000 to 3,000 meters, holding its breath for 90 minutes. Its body is engineered for pressure, lungs that collapse, flexible ribs, myoglobin in its muscles, storing oxygen at many times the concentration found in terrestrial mammals. And there, in the abyss where no camera has ever reached, it hunts the giant squid Architeuthis. No camera has ever captured the battle between a sperm whale and a giant squid. The only evidence is the circular scars left by sucker rings etched into the sperm whale's skin like maps of battles no one has ever witnessed. Each scar is a story. Each story unfolds in complete darkness, under crushing pressure, between two titans of the deep. At the surface, female sperm whales and their calves gather in groups in warm waters. They communicate through coders, complex click sequences, each family bearing its own distinct pattern. The adult males? They wander alone through the frigid waters near the poles, returning only for the mating season. Gestation lasts 14 to 16 months. A newborn weighs approximately 1 ton at birth. The sperm whale dives deeper than any other mammalian hunter. But even this creature, 18 meters, 45 tons, clicks at 236 decibels, cannot reach where we are going next. For below the sperm whale's abyss lies a world where even pressure becomes the most ordinary of things. And life there requires no light, no sun, not even a mouth to eat. The abyssal zone, 4,000 meters. Pressure at 400 atmospheres, 400 times that at the surface. temperature between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius. Absolute darkness is no longer the remarkable part. What is remarkable here is this: nothing should be able to survive. No light, no photosynthesis, no energy source from the sun reaches this far. But life disagrees. Along fractures in the mid-ocean ridges, superheated water exceeding 400 degrees Celsius erupts from the Earth's interior. Hydrothermal vents. The water runs black with hydrogen sulfide, minerals, and heavy metals, toxic to nearly all living things. But here, poison is sustenance. Chemosynthesis. Bacteria at the vents convert hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide into energy entirely without sunlight, a mode of life that science once deemed impossible. And surrounding those lethal vents, one of the most astonishing organisms on the planet thrives. The giant tube worm, Riftia pachyptila, reaching 6 feet in length, nearly 2 meters, the fastest growing invertebrate ever recorded. They possess no mouth, no gut, no anus, no digestive system of any kind. Instead, within their bodies, an organ called the trophosome harbors billions of chemosynthetic symbiotic bacteria. The bacteria generate energy. The tube worms supply hydrogen, sulfide, and oxygen. Both survive through each other. The vivid red plume crowning each tube worm, like a flower blooming in the heart of hell, contains hemoglobin. It transports not only oxygen, as human blood does, but also hydrogen sulfide, a lethal toxin, delivering it to the symbiotic bacteria within. An organism without a mouth, sustained by poison, at 400 atmospheres of pressure, beside water at 400 degrees, and it grows faster than any invertebrate on the planet. The logic of the surface does not apply here. A few meters from the vent, another creature is farming in eternal darkness. The Yeti crab, Kiwa, completely blind its eyes, have degenerated entirely over millions of years without light. But on its 2 claws, thousands of fine hairs, setae, cover the surface, and on those hairs, chemosynthetic bacteria flourish. The Yeti crab waves its claws through the heated water streaming from the vent, supplying oxygen and chemicals for the bacteria to thrive. Then it feeds on the very bacteria it has cultivated. A farmer, in darkness, at 400 atmospheres of pressure, growing bacteria on its own body. Beside the Yeti crab, swarms of blind shrimp, Rimicaris exoculata, cluster densely on the surface of active vents. Their eyes have degenerated, but on their backs, a thermosensory organ detects infrared radiation from the superheated water. They cannot see light, they see heat. And within their gill chambers, symbiotic bacteria produce nutrients just as in the tube worms, just as in the Yeti crab. The same principle, different organisms. Every resident surrounding a hydrothermal vent solves the same equation: how to live without the sun, and each species has found its own answer. Deeper still, beyond the abyssal zone, we reach the Hadal zone, the deepest layer, from 6,000 to 11,000 meters, pressure exceeding 1,100 atmospheres. Challenger Deep, the Mariana Trench, 10,935 meters, the deepest point on the surface of the Earth. If Mount Everest were placed at the bottom of Challenger Deep, its peak would still lie more than a mile beneath the surface. Jacques Picard and Don Walsh were the first to touch the bottom in 1960 aboard the bathyscaphe Trieste. The descent took nearly 5 hours to reach a place where pressure could crush a military submarine. And there, where every principle of biology dictates that nothing should exist, they saw life. In 2025, researchers identified over 7,000 microbial genomes at Challenger Deep. 90% of them had never been recorded before. We do not yet know what we do not know. But there is one thing we know for certain has reached this place before science ever did. Microplastic, found in the stomachs of amphipods at the floor of Challenger Deep. Plastic bags, sweet wrappers, at 36,000 feet below the surface. We have not finished exploring the ocean, but our waste arrived first. "44% of coral species are now under threat. Deep-sea mining threatens to destroy hydrothermal vent ecosystems before we have even begun to understand them. Every vent destroyed is an ecosystem that will never regenerate because each vent harbors species that exist nowhere else on Earth. But the ocean does not exist in isolated layers. Everything is connected. Marine snow falls from the sunlit zone to nourish the floor of the abyss. DL vertical migration links day and night, surface and deep. Coral dies, parrotfish lose their home, food chains collapse from the top down. No layer exists alone. The ocean is a single living body. We began at the surface, where the great white shark and the orca, the two sovereigns of the shallows, clash with power and intelligence. They are staggering creatures. But far below, where they can never reach, tube worms survive without mouths. Blind crabs farm bacteria on their claws. Shrimp see with heat instead of light. Life does not require perfection. It requires only persistence. And in the deepest, darkest, most hostile place on the planet, where pressure crushes everything and darkness has endured for millions of years, life still finds a way. Perhaps that is the true answer. Not the strongest, not the most intelligent, but the one that refuses to surrender. Thank you for joining WildLifeDocs on this descent to the very bottom of the ocean. The world beneath the waves still holds countless stories waiting to be told. We will see you on the next voyage.